Time for more UberQuest! This time we're going to take a look at the second chapter of Volume 1, and just in time as Volume 2 is being kickstarted as we speak. Now yes, I was asked to do this in time for it, though I do have to apologize for not doing this sooner like I would have wanted. It's just life comes at me, interests in review content change, copyright strikes, Patreon, and of course the time spent on Arc 5. Hell, I still need to do some more Two Kinds. But like I'm going with that, I'll also be doing a yearly continuation of this, just until I feel there's enough to get a good understanding on how this comic works, before letting you read to your own desire. With that said, let us continue our adventure into the comic that, while like fairy tale, knows how to be a blast. And last time we left off, Sesame and friends were going to head into Northon, and naturally we see some guy we don't know who happens to be in Northon. Who are you and where are the girls? This is Kyler, a raccoon ranger who, based off the promotional material, might actually be another main character but has yet to meet up with Sesame. He lives with his boyfriend, Joel, who I'm guessing is an otter? Anyway, Kyler is pretty interesting. He's a lieutenant commander in the King's Army, who often trains new recruits, has to hide the fact that his personal life is the kind that is looked down upon in this world, i.e. he's gay, and he's apparently like Death the Kid in that everything must be perfect and symmetrical. What is it doing all the bloody way out there? It has to be symmetrically aligned with the fruit bowl!
Idiot, what do you think you're doing? Eyebrow grooming is to be left up to me! What happens if the left and right sides are uneven?
But anyway, he's approached by Prince Draven, who was asked to have Kyler go out on a mission to find a missing noble. Kyler accepts, of course, but we also learn that Draven's father is ill, though also claims that he's a tyrant. Uh-oh. Based on his dialogue, he doesn't seem to like how his father runs things and wants to change things while also assuring loyalty from Kyler. Calling it now, Draven is a bad guy. I mean, what would warrant being called a tyrant? What does Draven think he is? Richard? Also, hi, Mace. Going back to Sesame's group, they try to get transportation, only to find that all carriages are rented and the airship is being repaired. Well, that airship would have been the safest way, given who's after them, but I suppose they could ride with Mason, who's currently transporting some armor to Northon. Since he can't afford protection, Sesame offers to do it in exchange for transportation. As they travel, one has to wonder if these things are horses, or an offshoot of them. I ask because there are anthro horses about. He talks about how he was adopted by his aunt and uncle, you know, the asshole who treats him poorly. And all the while, Sesame is just purring away. Meanwhile, Claire talks about the future a bit while Kibbles mopes some more. But then she hears the sound of someone doing something, and of course it's none other than Dante. And she's stealing the cargo. Just where the do you think you are going, Dante? Yikes. Not bad. You want to dance, kitty? Let's dance. Now you know why flame enchantments are awesome. Can't dodge a sword if you can't touch it either. Hardly a match of a fight when I'm disarmed. Dante, please. You're a rogue. You don't know the meaning of the word match. So Sesame decides to plant her sword in the ground and fight barehanded. Doesn't last too long though, since Sesame seems to overpower her with one punch. That knocks her to where her blade is, even though it didn't look like they moved at all from whatever side they were on. Either way, Dante steals the weapon and flees, leaving the cargo behind at least, but now Sesame is disappointed that she let this happen. Which reminds me, apart from just sheathing your weapon for now on, what would bind on equip look like in this setting? I mean, in World of Warcraft, weapons get bound to you whenever you equip them, making it impossible to steal. If that were to show up in the comic, what would that look like? Either way, Sesame's going to be without a weapon for a while, or rather indefinitely. Elsewhere, we find Faren with the only friend he knows well, booze. I say this because it seems like rats in this world get a bad rep. Well, that's unfortunate. Now, I could see this as a subtle way to establish some racial or species-based discrimination, since really, because the majority of characters are animals and we mostly see the mammalian variety, it pretty much means that the issues involving those things would come from how animals get treated in real life. Like in Zootopia, it does follow on various animal tropes. Like in this case, rats are typically known for carrying diseases, like this one person says. Now, something to note that I know some mentioned in comments in the last video. Yes, Sesame still acts very cat-like, and at times can be somewhat solitary like a real cat, while Kibbles is nice and loyal as any dog. Even with the tropes, it's not like the characters are any less likable. Has it been done before? Yes. But the thing is, even if something's been done before, or follows in suit with other media, it's not wrong to do them as long as you can take it in a different direction. Like I said, I can like cat characters who are presented as antagonistic or mean as long as they're likable in some way. And that's even when commonly used tropes, and those I tend to dislike, are in effect, and because of how things were going, I'm enjoying the characters and what they go through. And of course, I feel for Faren, whose life probably would be better if people would not treat him like most rats. Especially when he does have his kind moments. Here he meets an orphan Dahaki girl, which again are the dragon folk of this series, whose parents were killed by someone, and the only way she can live is to sell flowers to people, since no one would adopt her? It's going to be alright, I promise. You can't lose hope, kid. Someday you will get adopted by a real nice family. I'm sure of it. He treats her to some food before giving her some gold to head to an orphanage, as well as to buy herself a weapon in case something bad happens. He gets to keep the flowers at least, and so far, nothing else is known about her fate. And now for a status report on Proto, as he's confronted by the creatures that were stalking him. It's... Listen up, I have no idea what you all are or capable of, but I am willing to make a sacrifice to help Sir repair this teleporter. You will all collectively be known as Steve.
An army, an entire next generation of Steve.
Except you. You are Swen.
Uh-huh. And who's the reindeer?
Sven?
Oh, okay.
And so he begins ordering them about like he's Captain Olimar. But then one of them finds a picture for him of Claire when she was younger, with her father, which makes him sad. Well, enough of that. Back to Sesame, who still feels bad while Mason offers to make her another weapon if he gets the materials later. Before she can tell him why they were out here to begin with, Claire gets her chance to meet him and wants him to work with her in the name of science. But since he's too modest to accept her fake money, well, maybe you'd be more willing with this kind of bribe? Whoa now! The only way that would work is if he was Sanji. They get into a fight because Claire is bad with socializing, and she ends up walking off after claiming that she wouldn't know what it feels to lose family members? Oh, this is going to lead into something, isn't it? Mason ends up talking to Kibbles, who eventually reveals why they were traveling. But then she ends up bringing up something she was thinking about in her head. Apparently, when she was being harassed by those guys, she intended to use a healing spell, yet a fire spell went off instead, and one that was stronger than any she knew, which could mean someone is trying to frame her for something. But who would want to frame a kind soul like her? I mean, look at her! She's too pure to be murdering people! Anyway, we finally get to learn more about Claire's past. When she was young, she had a knack for engineering just like her father, while her mother tended to drink a lot. Oh yes, it's just fantastic. Everything is always going so well for the both of you. Does anyone stop to consider my needs? It's always about you two. Nobody in this family cares about me.
Come on, stop whining.
Well, to be fair, it doesn't matter if you're rich, middle class, or poor. Dysfunctional families can happen anytime and anywhere and will always have a negative impact on someone, which in the case of fiction tends to have them growing up to become social outcasts. In any case, that's why she's very snippy, and she's determined to make her father's dreams come true since, unless he's still alive somehow, she's willing to keep his ambitions going given how much he loved her. Next morning, we learn those horse things are called staggles. And apparently he uses their poop for crafting? I could believe it. We use all sorts of crap for crafting all the time. You'd be amazed what you can do with a stick and some fairy powder. With everyone in new clothing, Sesame tries to apologize to Claire, only for Claire to be a jerk about it, which I guess means they're okay. Well, how's Kyler doing? Well, he's bragging about his accomplishments that got him to this point. But when they go to rest, they run into a monster. Man, if you were in an RPG and you tried to take a leak, how often would this happen? Just saying. I mean, sometimes you can't go 2 feet without aggroing something when you just need to go to a particular spot to rest. And then... oh, time for plot development. Here we have King Alder being told about an attack on some islands, which killed one of their generals, and the theft of some kind of artifact. He calls for Draven to come in, and pretty much there's a rebellion going on, and if whoever is in charge gathers the artifacts together, it would give them untold power. Classic RPG story elements. Gather the MacGuffins and either get power beyond mortal comprehension, or accidentally summon the Demon King. Either way, the king wants to send an investigation team to learn more and to charge anyone responsible for treason, which Draven doesn't like. Savages! Nothing but savages! This is my kingdom, and I will not have you destroy it! You know, earlier you did show some compassion to your opponents. And while you seem to be a bit of a showboat, you don't appear to be a bad guy at the moment. But given your recent outburst, I wouldn't be surprised if you did turn out to be like Richard and become a tyrant yourself. But you know the funny thing about this? It is tied to Sesame since now she tells Claire about her backstory. The place she was born in was the same island that was attacked, and her father was the general that was reported to have been killed. Growing up, she wanted to train but wasn't allowed to. Plus, she would get bullied, but even then, she apparently had the same kind of unnatural strength we saw earlier. So Dad won't teach her to become a warrior yet, while her sister, Soya, tells her he's just overprotective since the day she was born, and, well, Mother's not around anymore. Now, I did peek ahead, and, well, let's just say the reason for her unnatural strength is freaky, to say the least. As the town gets attacked, she's told to hide at a temple, but of course, there's a rogue nearby ready to attack, and... who are you? You poor lost souls are being denied my amazing talents and epic story. For too long I have been known as that weird bat guy that keeps popping up, or General Wingnut. I, Valmont Barlow, master of the dark arts and keeper of the undead, will no longer deal with such disrespect. Oh right, this guy. Yeah, he showed up during a Halloween special that I neglected to show you. How do I describe him? Well, imagine if Merrick Ishtar from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged turned into a furry bat creature. I mean, that's kind of what he is. The bizarre loon who we see as being feminine at times tends to be loud and self-indulgent, though here he appears to be intelligent later on. At least that's what the cast page says. And wait, based on this, he seems to have been the one who has the artifact, and it's called an Uber? Oh, I get it. That's why it's called UberQuest. It's not just a pun off the term Uber, like gameplay terms, but it's also what they call the special artifacts. Nice. Anyway, he won't be showing up again until page 156. He's going to be like that one rat that I keep seeing pictures of for Star Warriors, isn't he? Anyway, Sesame gets her signature scarf before getting attacked. After a brief struggle, she kicks him away, only for him to be killed by the coffin. So, knowing she's not safe anymore, she cuts her hair and runs off to her father, only to find the town burned to the ground. She hides from some people, and just as a burning piece of wood falls on her, the scarf protects her? Oh snap, it's like the cloak of levitation. Don't believe me?
stop.
So thankfully, it wasn't like everyone died, but at least one important person did. Her father. Soya is missing at this time, as she left years ago, but otherwise we can write off her being responsible for the damage. Otherwise, this is why she left home, to find the ones responsible and to seek justice for her father. Claire finally apologizes for her actions, and now they are good with each other. Back with Kyler, we see what comes of this little monster encounter. He saves one guy, then leads an epic attack against the beast. It's actually pretty cool, showing leadership and trust in the newcomers to hit their mark, and thus showing their progress and his effort for teaching them. Ew, how disgusting. This bloody blood is going to stain. Bloody blood. Nowhere near as bad as kill you to death. Oh, but wait. Someone must have been controlling the beast given the tamer seal they find. Now who could that belong to? Ignore me! Later we see Faren get kicked out of a bar before running into Dante? Wait, she's his sister? Actually, we do learn more about her. Like the reason she steals is because of the refugees their guild takes in. No thanks to the war that Alder has going with the avians. At least we got stuff to look forward to, though how much of this will affect the main cast will be determined by how quickly events play out. Right now, they're still out on the road. Speaking of avians though, Kibbles and Mason meet one in a town, who is part of a religious cult it seems, given how this one guy speaks. But oops, there's Faren again. What's he up to? Well, he was trying to buy something from a stingy merchant. I mean, who wouldn't accept the big key? A big key, man! That's a big key! Well, he ends up stealing the item anyway. Now he's trying to escape by holding Mason up. But Sesame won't have it. Everyone starts attacking, Claire gets thrown to the wagon, Faren undoes the seal on his bag to reveal a large, black dragon monster? Oh wait, it's a mimic? Well, that's different. Most mimics tend to stay inside treasure boxes. They don't look like this. Though what am I saying? It still looks cool! While it deals with the guards, the caravan gets tossed into the caravan ends up falling into a ravine, ending the chapter. And with that, we're about 80 pages away from being caught up as of this writing. So maybe I should hold off until volume 2 comes out? I mean, this chapter was a little longer than the first. While that was like 52 pages long, this chapter was at least 60. So I don't know what I may do, but otherwise things seem to be picking up in the way of plot. We got some decent flashbacks in. We got to meet someone who may end up becoming a key character with the main group later, and of course, events that hopefully tie in with the rest of them. There are some scenes that feel a little rushed, without having certainty of how relevant it'll be with the main cast, since so far, only Kyler is tied to the artifact subplot, while Sesame is occupied with Kibbles' plight. But as with many webcomics, things do take a long time to develop, but the pages still add a lot to the characters and story. It's just, until we get further in, I can't really say how much has progressed overall. As a chapter, it's a little more bloated, but one that answers some questions while setting up for more. And then, as part of a single volume, there's plenty there to get a good read out of. Again, if you don't mind the use of the character design and some instances of fan service, I'd say give it a read for its humor, its love for fantasy, and the many references to RPGs. I do look forward to continuing in reading on my own time, and if you by chance enjoy it, maybe consider looking into kickstarting Volume 2. It's not for everyone, but even stuff like this can be a joy to read. I'm the Media Hunter, media's my prey, and reviewing them my way.